G'day, it's Heath here from pickinglessons.com. Waltz Time Licks. We're going to have a look at a bunch of licks here on the mandolin in 3/4 time. We're in the key of A. Some of these licks are movable, some are in the open position, but they're all movable in some respect, so the open licks as well. In a moment, we're going to take a look at the first 4 licks here in this lesson, but if you head on over to pickinglessons.com, we're going to have a look at the second half of this lesson where we do have a look at all the rest of the licks. You'll get yourself the worksheet as well that we're going to be working through to learn these licks, so pickinglessons.com. The first 5 licks are really one-off licks just over the A chord shape. So again, you can move them around and play them over any chord. The open licks, you can play them over the open position chords as well. I'll explain that as we go. The 6th, 7th and 8th licks are really over, there's a bunch of licks in them over the chord progressions. First of all, for a turnaround. So you're A, E, A, so the 1, 5, 1. And then there's the turnaround here, which you hear a lot as well. So the 1 to the 1, 7, so A to A7, then the 4 chord, the D for a couple of bars, then the 1, 5, 1 again. So that's 8 bars. So really you could break that down into 8 different licks almost. So we do have a lot to get through here, but let's jump on into the first 4 licks nice and slow just to start us off. We'll have a quick chat about these ones. These aren't overly complicated, but we'll have a chat about quickly what you need to do and how you can move them around. So let's have a look slowly first, nice and close at these 4 licks. Lick number 1. 1, 2, 3. Lick number 2. 1, 2. Lick number 3. 1, 2, 3. Lick number 4. 2, 3. Okay, so the first 2 licks you've just seen there are in the open positions. So for these 2 licks, we're actually using the minor pentatonic scale, but bringing in the major third. So there's our open A chord. Here's our open position minor pentatonic in A minor, and then that's the major third. You can see that in the major chord. Here's that lick. So we're sliding out of the minor third in our pentatonic scale up to the major third that we find in the chord. So it's a really common lick, this one. You hear this a lot. It's great at the end of a chord progression. You could just throw it in. Works really well. The second variation is the same idea, really, the second lick, except it's a different timing. So this first lick we have starting on the first beat. So 1, 2 and 3, and then we finish on the first beat. The second variation, similar idea, a little bit different, but we do start on the 1, 2 and, so the 2 and count. So 1, 2 and. So slightly shorter, but you start it in a different place, so it's more syncopated. Pulls you off that downbeat on the first beat a little bit more. So 1, 2. All of these licks you can play with a downstroke. Just the tempo we're playing is not too fast, and it works really nicely with the drive of your picking, just playing down for these. When we get to the next lick in a moment, we're going to be playing some tremolo, so we'll change our technique there, but for the general scale and lick runs, downstrokes works really well. If you're finding that tricky, feel free to alternate, but downstrokes is a really nice way of trying to do it. So first and second lick, they're very similar, just slightly different ways of playing the same idea, really. They're great. You could use that anywhere, these licks, but they're really nice at the end of a phrase. So the singer's singing, and then you can put that in at the end of the phrase. It works really well. So these licks are movable, by the way, these first 2. They're in the open position, but if we move up to the next set of strings, essentially we're moving to the key of D if we do that. Or I can move up and I can move into G. So that works as well. And the second lick is the same idea. So you do get to use those licks in the over the D or the G as well, if you wish. You can go about trying to work these out in a closed position, but we're not going to do that right now. But definitely lick 1 and 2 here, you can play in A, in D, or in G. The last note we're finishing on is the root note there. So you can see open A, open D, and then open G. Okay, let's move on. Lick number 3. Lick number 3 and lick number 4, we're moving into a closed position here up the neck. So lick number 3. This one is really around your chop chord shape. So there's the A chop chord, the 4-finger chop chord. We're going to start up though in this double stop here. And this double stops at 7th and 5th frets with some tremolo. So over the 2 beats, 1, 2, 3. Finish on a downstroke on beat 3. 1, 2, 3. And this slide, same slide as before, minor third to the major third, first finger, but it's a grace note slide. So you're not really hearing the 3rd fret, you're hearing the slide as a feature, but not 3rd fret's not really there. So 1, 2, 3, and then we'll resolve down to A here with our 3rd finger inside our chop chord, and then that 1st finger still there on fret 4 for the double stop. So if you're playing your A chord, this one's great because if you're chopping along with the A chord over a waltz in A, it's easy to get to, and then keep playing back to your chop chord too. So that's a nice lick just around your chord there without having to shift to the open position, which is okay too. So lick number 4, similar idea. We're going to start in our chop chord position fingering. So that 2nd finger there is on that high A on string 1. And we get our scale run this time going, resolving, not resolving, but the final note in the measure is that 7th fret there, the E. So again, kind of part of our chop chord, the double stop there for A. And we have watching the triplets. So we are using triplets throughout because we're in a shuffle feel, by the way. So hopefully you've already heard that. So we are in a shuffle feel and the triplets are a feature of this rhythm as well. So this is the 1 and 2 and a 3, then so a 2-bar lick, and we're really filling most of that space. So 1, let's just count that through. 1 and 2 and a 3, 1 and 2 and a 3. So the rhythm there is matching in both of those measures, resolving down to that 7th fret and using this pentatonic scale with the major third again. So we're not going into how these scales are played. We've got a couple other videos on the website at pickinglessons.com where we're looking at some other licks and the pentatonic scales as well. So jump onto those lessons if you're not sure. All right, so there's the first 4 licks that we've just looked at. If you head to pickinglessons.com, we will have a look at the second half of all this together. So we'll look at licks 5 through 8. Licks 6, 7, and 8 are a lot chunkier too, so there's a lot more going on there. We'll break them down. We're looking more at sort of a turnaround and different chord progressions there. But just very quickly to summarize, the first 2 licks in the open position are able to be moved to the different keys, so A, D, and G, as we mentioned. Lick 3 and number 4, they're movable as well. Just watch where your root note is. So like I mentioned, that chop chord in A, if I wanted to move the lick down to say G, because we're in the key of G, you could actually move them down, attach the lick to that root note. So lick number 3, for example, lick number 4, and I can move this up to anywhere I like. B flat, B, C up the neck if I wish. That's all fine. So these are definitely movable. So as we move on through, a little bit of open, a little bit of movable shapes as we go. So pickinglessons.com, you'll get the worksheet and we'll have a look at the second half together. I'll see you there.